Okay, that's all the egg. My unmatched perspicacity. This is Brett reacts to if teen boys were 100% honest. I want to see what she thinks about teenage boys. What? What the Bomboka!
Welcome back to another episode of Off the Clock. I need to be transparent with you guys. I can see my YouTube analytics, and I know that I have a lot of young men who watch my channel. Hey. I'm flattered. I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to react to a Jubilee video today that is about you all, tailored to you all, and I'm going to see what you would say if you were actually honest. This is Jubilee if teen boys were 100% honest.
I love you!
So, this is for you guys. Mask off. These videos are so funny. So intense for no reason. Oh my God. Weird story. In college, my friend was a film minor and had to do some weird like short film. He was graduating the year before I did, so like as COVID was starting, and people were like freaking out moving off of campus and you know all of that stuff, and I was helping him film the short film, and he wore one of these masks in it, and so we had to like go around campus with him like in this mask. That's just an aside. It's just reminded me of that. It was very weird.
Wow.
In an age of call-out.
That was such a good story. This is why I watch you, because you've also seen that mask before. Yes, this is why I enjoy your content.
Culture wars and perfect facades. People can be afraid to express how they really feel. So we brought together 7 strangers, protected their identities, and asked them all 7 burning audience questions.
There we go.
What will be revealed when we take the mask off?
It's like a horror movie. Oh, damn. Carl. Didn't know there was a teen boy named Carl in 2023.
If the answer is yes, you will flip on your light. Do you watch porn?
Bro, they all do. Come on. Let's be honest. Chat, ban porn 2023. All these teen boys, of course they do. Of course they do. I genuinely don't. If you put me on a lie detector test, I don't watch porn. I haven't watched porn. I don't even remember the last time that I watched porn. I genuinely cannot. It's maybe better. You have more energy. You have more power. I wake up like, boom, boom, ready to go. Chugging eggs, gym every day. Don't get tired. I don't need sleep as much anymore. I'm ready to fucking go. But porn, and you wake up, come on. Come on, stop it.
I don't even have anything to say about that. I'm not even like upset. I just know that it's real. And so when people want to say, oh, it's not an issue, we don't need to talk about porn. No, it is, because it's in our pockets every single day. And
what do you think Brett watches, Chad?
Not being real about the impacts of watching porn, I'm not just saying that as a woman that's like, oh, I don't want you to objectify me, whatever. No, for you. It is bad for your mental health. It is literally bad for your hormones.
Yes.
Your testosterone gets lowered, but I'm not.
Yes, yes, Brett, I don't watch porn. I'm waking up ready to fucking go. Woo! Ready to start the day. Waving at the sky, pointing towards where I want to go in life. Because I don't watch porn.
Surprised? I'm glad that we're starting off this video with this. I don't know where it's going to go, but just know, like, I take that very, very seriously. Yeah. Porn is not something that I think is like some flippant subject. I think it's actually something we really do need to address. Classic
Brett W. She's not even Rod Cooper anymore. Great taste.
As a culture. 1, because of the impacts on young men. Number 2, on the way that it forces men to view women and view sexual encounters. And 3, because of the sexual exploitation that happens in the production of porn.
It's accessible, and because it's accessible and it's there, people use it. I'm one of them.
I think most guys can agree that they have at least at some point watched it.
Yeah,
and
I have.
You know, I mean, it's if you can enjoy it in a healthy way, if you can enjoy masturbating in a healthy way, I think then like by all means go for it. But
yeah, I do watch porn. God.
Told you.
A lot of my teenage years, I spent a lot of time self-obsessing over it to the point where it kind of became an addiction. And it took until very recently to get out of the hole of, you know, paying for porn. I do watch it, but I don't like that I watch it.
I'm gonna bring everyone else into the conversation.
Chat, you know what I see a lot recently when I'm talking about the self-improvement stuff? People will be like, how do I stop smoking weed? How do I stop watching porn? There's people in the chat right now who are like that. How do I stop? You know how do you stop? Phone's on, phone off. Boom. Now you're not watching porn. You know how to stop smoking weed? You're smoking weed. You're not smoking weed. It's that simple. Well, I just. Now you're making excuses. You just stop doing it. You have to better your mindset in every single realm, or you're not going to be able. If you are not even in control over your decisions, how are you going to be successful in life? How are you going to accomplish? How are you going to be someone that is inspiring others, that's creating new things? How are you going to reach your full potential if you can't even not watch porn? How do I stop? Stop. Just stop.
I said no. I used to watch it a lot before. I would say I was addicted to it. My dad is in prison, so
10 push-ups right now.
There was no one really for me to talk to about sex. So porn was my education on sex.
That is
disgusting.
It's so dangerous that porn is how so many young people get their information about sex. And obviously there's a fault in our, sex ed curriculum, and I have my thoughts about how politicized it gets, but obviously there's a conversation that young people need that is not happening. And I'm not saying this is somebody who, is above this. Like, I had a really good friend in LA who, I think started having sex when she was 12 years old. And was watching porn. It was like very flippantly like, oh my God, you haven't watched it? Let me show you, like whatever. Like
LA.
It's so cavalier even for women. So it's interesting hearing young men talk about it, but as a female, like I know that it's prevalent with like my peers as well. And the fact that this is where like both men and women get their ideas about sex and what a sexual encounter should look like. Like it's just bad. And my heart also breaks for young men that, I don't know how old these guys are. This is like teen boys, but one just said, in his earlier teen years, so I'm not sure, maybe the early 20s, that at this age, you've already been battling an addiction.
Is crazy. I was like that type of one. It's getting harder for young men to reach their full potential because of all these distractions. I was one of those guys, bro. I was every single night before I went to sleep, it was routine. Boom, Reddit, go to the subreddits. I had 5 subreddits that I always watch. Look at all the popular videos and be here. That's not good. That's not good. Go to the hub, 60 tabs, and that was how I fell asleep. And for years and years and years, that will ruin your testosterone at the most important part of your life where you're supposed to grow it. Look at all the ones in the chat. So to combat this, knowing that there are so many roadblocks trying to make you soy, trying to make you turn into one of these people, you need to go 3 times harder to prevent it. Raw eggs every day, gym every day, sunlight every day, hard work every day, doing the right thing constantly. Every decision you make has to be calculated. You need to really resist the slave mind. It's not just, you can't just operate in this world in the West with all the distractions we have and just expect to live a good life. It's impossible now for a young man. You have to actively push away all the distractions. It has to be a conscious decision. There's no la la la. A pretty girl, Brett, can walk around and have a life that's good. Because she's a girl, she'll get attention, stuff like that. It's not the same for young men. You need to actively push all that shit out. Put the vape down. Put down the social media, uninstall TikTok, and download Rumble. If you aren't resisting, they're gonna get you. They're gonna get you. They just will. It's impossible. The amount of temptations out there, it's impossible to not succumb to it if you don't have an iron mind, man. Trust me. Trust me. But you all know this, right? You guys all know this. Porn is for communist liberals.
Like, that's insane to me. Obviously, it happens. It's just like, are we really going to take this lightly?
From personal experience, it messed me up because after watching it so much, I'm sure we've all been there where you're on page 5 and like nothing is right. Like you're looking for that right video, but your dopamine like receptors and everything is so messed up at this point that the same thing that would
and then your dopamine receptors are so fucked up. And chat, type of one if you know what I'm talking about. You'll be there watching the 60s video and you're not even, you're just this, and you're just stroking a floppy little worm. This is where you are, because you're just it's like you're just digging for gold. You're not gonna find it. You're not even aroused anymore. It's just training your mind to be addicted to dopamine. If you're stroking a floppy gummy, like How are you gonna have sex with a beautiful woman like Brett?
Get you off wouldn't get you off anymore, right? I went so deep into it where I'm a straight man, I started watching trans porn.
I mean, y'all.
What?
Into it where I'm a straight man, I started watching trans porn.
I mean, y'all. Trans porn. I think it's the third or fourth, what did I say in that video? Third or fourth most viewed category in 2022.
Because it was just erotic in a different way that I've never seen before. I needed more stimulation.
Because of pornography.
Yes, because of pornography. So I don't think it's just entertainment. It actually affects with your brain and the way you perceive love.
You think that a lot of teenagers or teen boys are really educated on the effects of pornography?
No.
And it's a conversation that we refuse to have because it's still taboo, even though you can literally access it at any given moment. It's either taboo.
Ban porn. You should have to show an ID. And this is what Ye24, bro. This is Ye24, everybody in the chat. Because Ye wants to ban porn. Ban it. And I completely agree. It's the #1 problem that young men face, I think, in the West. It's the #1 problem because it will affect everything in your life. Your reward system, your testosterone, your ability to function with other women. It just will. It's the quickest way to fall into depression. We're going to ban porn. You should be able to show an ID, but this is what's going to happen. They're not going to be able to do it unless Ye actually does get elected. So you need to ban it from your mind. You need to, don't ask me, how do I do? Stop, fight, resist. 10 more push-ups.
Or if you bring it up, it's like, like you're stop being a Karen, you're being so prude, don't get in the way of my fun, whatever. No, this is an important conversation. We're talking about my generation, the next generation that's probably going to have even more access to it. What happens when we get virtual reality porn? I think that already exists. What about AI? You're talking about how you keep having to make it more intense, get more stimulation.
Niggas is jerking off to Pokimane AI porn, chat. It's gone too far. It's gone not even, because porn is just pixels, but pixelated pixels? Pixelated pixels. Just computer CGI. That's worse than hentai.
They should get something new. That impacts the people you are in relationships with. There is a reason why 56% of American divorces cite pornography as an issue. Because if you can't get off anymore, if you need more stimulation, you can't get it from your wife, from your husband, and you're constantly seeking out other things, where is this going to take us next? If we don't address it now, I don't know when we're going to. Sorry for making that so intense. We're going to hopefully go on to another conversation now. We really started off with a banger, for lack of a better word, boys.
You did not have to do that. You knew you did not have to do that.
Have you ever cried in front of someone else?
I wholeheartedly agree with this statement. I feel like it's easier to open up towards women, which is kind of embarrassing, but like, quite frankly, I feel like they understand emotions more because they really understand the whole crying. I mean, I feel like crying is sort of normal to them, and they see it as like a way to express themselves.
It's interesting that you said that you're more comfortable to cry in front of women. I had a girlfriend and she broke up with me over text. And before that, we were like talking and I cried in front of her and I was,
oof. That shit will make you red pill rage.
Being honest, and I thought that's what you're supposed to do. That's what my dad taught me, right? But I guess she interpreted it as being insecure and she broke up with me and that really messed me up for a little while because...
My heart breaks, genuinely, I'm not just saying this, for young men right now because you have women telling you that you're toxic, that you're too masculine, that leaning into your natural biology of what you are literally... And then you cry and they think you're just insecure. Created to do and lead and act, that is awful and you're oppressive, you're upholding the patriarchy. And then on the other side of their mouth, if you act too soft, if you're too vulnerable, if you lean too much into what they're asking... You a bitch. Then they're upset about it and they're uncomfortable. And it's like, you probably feel like you can't win.
Well, now I know I can't show any kind of insecurity, so I don't...
No, she's just a bitch.
I don't like crying in front of women. Like, I'd rather cry in front of some family that I trust, right?
That's interesting because I'd rather find a stranger on the street and tell them everything I'm going through because I will never see them again in my life.
That's accurate.
And I feel like they won't be able to judge me. I'll never see them.
I'd rather have a stranger think I'm strong and my family know all my problems, so it's interesting.
Feminism has gone too far.
Everybody, yes.
Interesting.
In the feminism movement, there's so much of tearing down men or trying to put men back in their spot. But if the women want us men to step up, then I feel like it'd be a lot more productive instead of tearing down men and telling us all what we're doing wrong, than to, on the other hand, to build us up, I guess for the sake of keeping us accountable.
That's common sense. And if you said that online publicly with your face, you would have so many angry girl bosses ripping into you on TikTok.
Giving females more opportunities to certain things, I just think that's quite unfair. And it's like, you gotta put in the work, you gotta put in the certain things to earn these things. And it's not like women are granted less access to these jobs.
How ironic is it that for boys to be 100% honest, they all need to go undercover? But if this was flipped, girls would just lights on, blasting, you'd have a big ring light. Everybody could, all the women would just be brutally honest about how men are trash and how they're queens and about what makes them cry. They don't need to hold back at all. That's the result of a feminized society. For men to be honest, the lights gotta be off. You gotta censor me because I don't wanna lose everything.
I mean, I know there's plenty of women who are in business, who are doing good things for America. I just find it counterintuitive that this whole feminist movement is advocating for equal rights in certain things when they already have access to them.
Yep.
I'm a feminist. I guess I believe in the equality of men and women. I think that when we talk about feminism, a lot of it boils down to employment. I think that the bringing down of men, you guys keep on saying bringing down men and shaming them. I think that is way overstated. I have never been shamed for my maleness.
I think, you know,
What? Really?
if you look at any movement, there's definitely going to be like a radical portion of that movement. I feel like there's a wall, and we should break down that wall and focus on the human race. Not women, not men, not Mexicans, not this. We should all bring each other up.
I mean, that is actually equality. Shocking. Like, that guy was like, I'm a feminist. I do believe in, equality between men and women. That is feminism. And in that sense, if we're just leaving it at that statement, I would say that I am a feminist. Before I learned about third wave feminism and I saw how far they went, I was proud to say, oh yeah, I'm a feminist. I want to empower women. I'm like I'm not some docile, quiet, meek girl. If you guys watch my show, you know that. I obviously want the same opportunities. I'm going to fight to be in the room with my male peers. But feminism has gone so much farther than that. And so I think it'd be interesting to have had a more nuanced question about feminism, I think, because there's just so many different waves people might not know. Like, all right, I can say that I think feminism has gone too far while still agreeing that women deserve equal rights, but not liking the way that they're handling things now, because it's just so complex. And again, I feel for guys who feel like they can't be part of this conversation, similar to abortion, where it's like, you don't have a uterus, you can't talk about it. It's like, you can't talk about feminists unless you're supporting us. But if you're, against this movement, you don't get to speak about it because you're not a woman.
I've been anxious about my penis size.
It's funny now thinking about it, all the female commentators, like Brett Cooper, it's Just Pearly Things, and Leah Halpern, they'll argue a lot for traditional gender roles. They'll argue a lot against feminism. But then if you look at what they do in their profession, kind of goes against that because it's pretty masculine. They are girl bosses. They're independent of a man. They make a lot of money. And also they're doing a masculine job, which is speaking up against things, having debates, arguing. It's pretty masculine what they do. But then at the same time, they'll argue like traditional. What you do is a result of feminism. Without feminism, like back in the 50s, you wouldn't have this channel. You'd be at home like popping Xannies and making burnt lasagna for your honey, I'm home, right? Or they'll argue so much for that. But now think about Brett Cooper's Instagram, and she's always at the gun range with giant AR-15s. Leah Harpern's at like crypto events speaking, the World Economic Forum, she doesn't sound like that, but she's like, the World Economic Forum needs to crumble. We need to fight the government. Pretty feminist. Just Pearly Things is like, yeah, bitch, you're a whale. What's up? You're supposed to be a feminine woman. Come to my wife's school and I can teach you how to be a good woman, nigga. I'm gonna freestyle. I'm Just Pearly Things. Yeah, nigga. Just Pearly Things came on my shit with the do-rag on and said, yo, what's up? What's cracking, Sneako? Let's talk about some feminism, you were? They are the result of feminism. I'm not burning bridges, chat. Shut the fuck up. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. Because you know what I'm saying is true. You know what I'm saying is true. I would say that to them. I would say that all to their face. I hate that I can't talk about other people in this space. I can't say that without people saying,
Three guys are like, nah, bro.
I started watching pornography, I think around the age of 11 or 12.
And we're back. Add another thing to the list. Self-confidence issues.
And that's, that's a very impressionable, vulnerable place to be in. So of course, there's always these feelings about looking at your body.
Yeah, and I think the competition is probably what affects me the most part. It's the thing you're like, I know good and well there's dudes bigger than me. And she says it doesn't matter, but it still plays on my mental when I go to sleep at night.
Currently, I'm not really afraid of the size that I have because I am kind of becoming more confident in my body and the way that I am. And I don't really feel like it's going to matter nearly as much when you're with someone for 10 years as you are for a one-night stand. So I am not personally that uncomfortable with my size.
Everything that you just said is true, and you just need to become confident in your own self by knowing what people really look for. But it's hard to get on Netflix and watch Euphoria and think these are grown-ass men playing high school people, and you think well, that's not what I look.
Euphoria is a giant psyop.
That's an important conversation. Not just, Euphoria is sexually explicit, but just in case people are unaware of this, Euphoria, like they said, it's 25 to 30-year-old dudes playing high schoolers. If you guys remember Glee? I think a lot of those were in their 30s when they started. I did the reboot of Heathers. I was the only
that girl Maddie from Euphoria is 36 years old.
Person who was an actual teenager on that show. And we were all playing in high school. And they were a 31-year-old, 26.
And then everybody on Twitter, people in their late 20s are I ship this couple. Bitch, they're in high school. And you're invested in their fictional romantic lives. Bruh. Get a life.
So when you look at those TV shows, just know they're not actually depicting you as an 18-year-old, a 17-year-old, whatever. KJ Appa in Riverdale, that's not what a 15-year-old looks like. It's just not. And I look at, some women and I'm like, oh God, whatever. It happens to all of us. I'm just letting you know the reality of behind the scenes. They are not your age. And they are trying to, create high school content, but tailoring them for adults, for the female gaze of women my age and probably older who are going to sit on their couch and, eat a pint of ice cream and watch Riverdale and be like, oh my God, his washboard abs. It's not about the high schoolers. It's trying to get women to watch.
It's softcore porn with high schoolers tailored for LGBT people and women in their late 20s. It's disgusting. It's pretty, bro, Euphoria season 1, I ain't gonna lie, bro, that shit was pretty good. It is a psyop and they are trying to normalize trans people and there's an abnormal amount of gay people in the show. And a lot of it is part of the program and stuff like that. I did enjoy season 1, and I can't even lie to you. Thank you for the 10, Dean for Truth. It's player versus player, and you be controlled. Break the cycle and take back control. The trick to watching these shows that you're sure are psyops are just to watch it and hate it and just point out. Every time you see something, you got to be like Leonardo DiCaprio and that mean, oh, there it is, psyop, communism, there it is. Oh, no, up, trans, up, woke, up. All right, stop. Okay.
The show. And while we're on the topic of sexualizing all those TV shows, a lot of stuff that's out there in the world right now is literally soft porn because we've become so desensitized to it.
I have questioned my sexuality.
Ooh. Oh my God.
Okay. I guess growing up, I was never one of the jocks of school.
But this is the result. The fact that all these teenage boys have questioned their sexuality, and there must be at least half the people in the chat probably fall into this category, is the result of shows like Euphoria. When they put gay pride flags in classrooms, when they show you all these trans people, when there's so many pride parades and all these rainbows everywhere, you are conditioned to question it more, when in a world where that's not shoved in your face all the time, when jock straps and dog ears and people on leashes aren't always in your face, you would have never questioned it. But you go to school and they start talking about pansexual, they start talking about gender fluidity, and you're like, am I? It's not a lot of these guys' fault. It's actually none of their fault. It's the result of the programming.
I always was into music, I was always into theater, and so growing up, I was always bullied because of that, because I was being too gay or whatever, and I always hung out with the girls. And so I definitely did kind of buy into what everyone else was saying, the peer pressure of like saying, oh, you're gay, this is how you're gonna end up turning out because this is how you are now.
So, young people themselves are saying that there's peer pressure about your sexuality. I'm just laying that out there.
I have fucked girls at NYU. Real talk, real talk. I don't know if anybody NYU or NYC in here. I've fucked girls at NYU, and they said that they make fun of heterosexual people. Like, NYU is so gay that they will make fun of straight people. You get bullied for being straight at NYU. That's how weird it is to be heteronormative, which is just normal. Really, but that's the word they use. Like, you're not even bi, like you're not even like pan, like you're cis, and I'm like, what the fuck? Real talk.
For the people who are like, no, that just doesn't happen, you just like, no, you are or you aren't. Being in that environment as a young person, especially when you deal with insecurities and you're being bullied and you don't really understand yourself and everybody around you is different than you, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I am. Like, they're saying this, like, I'm so different. And, if you end up being gay, that's totally fine. But it is worrisome that at a young age, this is what they're, being peer pressured about. And now these days, with young people, it's even more intense.
10 more, chat.
Oh, you like theater? You like sparkly things? You are probably trans. You're probably a girl. It's a slippery slope. Let kids be kids. And it's hard because kids being kids is going to mean that some of them are going to be mean to people, and that's hard. So again, it just goes back to the culture of like the fact that this has become how we taunt people.
With where I am now in my life, I've just kind of gotten to a place where I've grown to be confident.
When is Brett gonna say it's all part of the Matrix? When is she gonna say this is all trickling down for someplace? Bottom line, this is Daily Wire. I'm not gonna say it, chat's gonna say it, but you know what it is about Daily Wire. You know what they can't talk about. But they know at Daily Wire what they can't talk about.
Confident, I know what my identity is.
People thinking that definitely, like, it gets you thinking, It gets you thinking like, well, like, am I? Or should I be? It's like, should I be attracted to dudes because I like things that are quote unquote gay?
No, it does not matter.
Then I guess it just reveals the issue that, like,
if you like musical theater, you're gay. And I'm sorry. Bomboka! I'm sorry.
We've made certain things gay.
If I didn't go to therapy and stop being like...
What? Brett!
Made certain things gay.
If I didn't go to therapy and...
Not you!
Stop being like an anxious, depressed clump of a teenager, I'm guessing the people probably would have told me I might be a lesbian. I mean, my mom at one point, I've talked about this conversation multiple times. We were driving through one of the canyons in LA and I was sitting there in like all black, like my legs spread out and my Doc Martens being all pissed off about something. And she was like, you are dressing like a bush lesbian. And she was like, if you are, okay. But that's how you're presenting yourself to the world because you're dealing with internal things that you're, really angry about. And we have stuff going on with our family. And Is this how you want to present yourself and be perceived? And that was an important question for me to be asked. And that was also in that conversation that I've referenced so many times where she said, it is okay to be both strong and feminine. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. You can still be Brett. You can still love all the things that you love. You can still have the personality that like takes no shit, that is super loud and passionate.
I saw a tweet from this girl and she posted a picture of her when she was 10 in a full football gear, helmet, pads, shoulder, everything. And she said it was because she had a brother who made fun of her for not being able to play football and stuff like that. And she was doing all this tomboy behavior when she was a kid because she admired her brother. And she thanks her parents for being sane, because instead of cutting off her titties and making her put a inside out dick, they just said, you'll grow out of it. Because she wasn't trans, she just admired her brother. But this agenda is being pushed so hard. Imagine how many kids are in that same spot and end up cutting off their titties and changing the name from Brett to Ben.
Allah Akbar!
That's the Matrix.
While also being like, hey, it's okay to wear a dress one time. Literally, y'all, I remember going to Priscilla's coffee shop in Burbank, California. I walked in, and my best friend of like 3 years, it was the first time she had ever seen me wear a dress. It was like right after that conversation. She was like, what the heck? Like, that is how much of a shift I took. Because I was like, oh my God, like that isn't me. Anyway, that's just from the female perspective.
Mine didn't stem from any kind of like extra like curricular activity. My stuff stemmed from porn, as I mentioned before.
Oh, interesting that they've brought it up again as a root cause to another issue.
Told you, it's a slippery slope when you touch your wee wee. Don't touch your wee wee. Don't touch your wee wee. You're gonna end up trans. Should be a slogan. I'm gonna buy a Times Square billboard. Keep your hand out of your pants unless you want to be trans. Good? W? No? Okay.
And when I started watching trans porn, and it's weird to say, but like I got really nervous. I got really nervous because I thought maybe I'd be gay. And so, I did my research on it.
It's like me doing that video where I took the quiz to find out if I was gay. That was like, I had my own version of this, y'all, but it was in high school, and I was like, do I have depression? Yeah, Brett, you did. Like, it was me at like 3 a.m. Am I anxious? Like, yeah, your parents are going through a terrible divorce. Your brother is schizophrenic. Like, your other brother died. I think you probably have some problems.
All the stuff I would look up was saying like if you...
Okay. Let me go reel back the therapy comment. Therapy can help. There's a lot of situations where it's necessary. Clearly it worked for Brett. Clearly it worked. I still attain the idea that a lot of young men, it's better for them to go and improve their life rather than go and sit and talk about it endlessly. Therapy, a lot of the time, ends up becoming a permanent solution to a temporary problem. But it helps her out. So, of course, if there's anyone watching this and you really feel like you need it, bro, I'm not gonna stop you. And don't listen to what I'm saying. But I think there's a lot of people that don't need to go. Good take? No? Am I hurting someone's feelings?
You watch trans porn, you're still straight because they're women and stuff like that. But I'm thinking like, what would my family think? I've never sought out, and every time I talk to a trans woman in real life, there's no like actual attraction there. So I'm still lost in the fact of what I actually am attracted to. But I guess I am still straight because we are women.
Quite frankly, right now I feel happy with my sexuality, and I feel that it's not wrong to question your sexuality in terms of, well, in America, like you're free to question whatever you want. You can question
average Lasanabi viewer.
Your religion. Yeah. You can question your culture. It's just society is the things that constrains those certain things to be what's normal and what's wrong.
Yeah, I feel like there's such a strong stigma to be straight, or strong like a pushing you into it that even right now. I feel the desire to like explain myself, even though we're anonymous right now. I feel like I've only been with like actual like cis women, but like
so
I know that's like no one is judging me. We're all here to be honest.
It's so.
Wait, that dude has never been with a cis woman?
I love this.
You do?
Because obviously you're still dealing with like young men that have peer pressure and there's, you know, societal pressure. But I, on the other hand, like watch, you know, the content that I do and I talk about the stories that I do where I like literally see that this seemingly oppressed class of people has so much sway over all of the institutions, over all of our media, our entertainment, over all of our trends. It's like that video I reacted to the other day for a comment section episode.
Who though, Brett? Who?
Where this guy was like, maybe he was watching trans porn too, I don't know. But he was saying like,
who runs the porn industry?
I followed all these trans women on Twitter.
Who runs the media?
And like they were so
Who runs Daily Wire?
cool and
who runs YouTube?
I wanted to be them. And then he ended up transitioning. He was like, they were just so whatever. So it's interesting.
Who made Euphoria?
I do think still that
who runs the band? Okay.
There is like a social contagion part, but I think it's like we're not fully there yet because there are guys that are still like, oh no, I can't, that's weird, I don't want to do whatever. But then on the other hand, I see like the social and cultural influence that these people have in the way that our institutions and our big corporations and celebrities back them just like blindly. It's just interesting. I don't really have a condensed point for that.
She's connecting the dots. You don't have a condensed point. I know what the point is. Bruh. She's smart. But this platform, it's just, that's the restrictions. You can't.
To like say anything against what he's saying. It's his personal experience, but I just think that's interesting.
But it's such a stigma that from the last 18 years of my life, that in this moment right now, I feel embarrassed and ashamed for something that's just the way it is,
I'm scared of dying.
Interesting.
I think of it as like...
Good question. Are you scared of dying? I'm not scared of dying, Chad. Are you? I'm not.
I'm extremely scared of death. I mean, I watched my father die like right before me. It's a scary thing. They just stop breathing. And just the idea of like nothing is just extremely terrifying to me. It's like you don't really know what's going on. Like, are you even thinking? Are you even there? You're just a blip out of just space.
It is terrifying. We don't know. And as a Christian, I want to pretend that like I know that there's, heaven and hell, but at the end of the day, I genuinely don't know.
I think that's...
No, nobody in my chat is scared to die.
My biggest fear. I don't have a fear of like the act, I don't know, is it the act of dying, of actually dying? I fear being on my deathbed and regretting not taking chances.
Me too.
That
Very masculine, yo. Very masculine. Do you hear that? Regrets not taking chances. This is stuff that is it does a traditional woman, like, is that her core desire? I want to take chances. You don't really hear that from housewives.
Fear being on my deathbed and regretting not taking chances that I think I should have taken.
She's taking risks, started shows,
and not doing what I wanted to do, not making as much of an impact. So I think that is what stays with me. I don't think I've actually ever talked about this before. Since we're all being honest here, and I've talked about my teen depressed emo years now. One of my biggest things in my teen years was that my older brother died when he was 17 years old. And he died a week after his 17th birthday. I am the only one in my family who is younger than him. So everybody else, moved on, not moved on, but they continued getting older. They were already older than him. Obviously, it's a totally different situation for my brother Reed, who was his identical twin. So he's kind of constantly going through life knowing that he's, missing his person. Bruh. But for me, I had a really, really unique experience where, he died when I was at a very young age. So I went through over a decade where I was still technically younger than him. It's like, oh, my older brother, and I still looked up to him. I was still kind of following in his footsteps. I felt like, oh, I can, I'll do the same things David did. I want to, preserve his legacy. And then as I got closer to reaching 17, I got so freaked out. I've had some heart issues. He died of a cardiac arrest. And I've had some heart issues. Nothing really, really serious, but just stuff that, since that happened, we obviously, spidey sense turned on. And because of that, and because of the fact that he was permanently solidified in time, I was terrified that I was going to die a week after my 17th birthday. I thought that was it. I was I don't know. It was just I couldn't see life beyond that, because for my entire childhood, I had looked at him as the benchmark. And I've talked to some other friends who I have a really good friend whose brother also died, was many years older than him and had a very similar experience. I've talked to people who have lost their parents at a young age. Of like now they're 35, they have kids, they're doing things that their parents never did. It's a very, very weird and a very unique experience. I'll be interested if any of you guys have had that. But that was my greatest fear. And since then, I have felt a lot more free. It was not fun in the moment. And like the year afterwards, I mean, I was a mess. And still, like, February and October, even though that's my birthday month, are hard for me because I'm getting another year older that he never gets to be. Bruh. And then his birthday and then the anniversary of his death. He died on Valentine's Day. Those are really, really hard. But that was, since then, I don't think I have as much of a fear. But oh my God, like going into that, like I was a wreck that week. And I couldn't figure it out. It was like subconsciously I knew, but I was like, something's going to happen to me. I can't move on from this. And it also just felt wrong. I felt it was like, I shouldn't get to be here if he didn't. Anyway. But yeah, since then, I don't really have as much of a fear of dying. I think I've, at this point, if I did die, I've done everything that I have wanted to do in this time in my life. Like I've done everything that I could in my, 21 years. Obviously, like haven't gotten the chance to, get married, have kids, do other things that I want. But I've crammed a lot into 21 years, so I feel like I'm on the right track to not deal with those regrets at the end of my life. But anyway, it's just interesting.
But
W opening up, I'm glad. I don't mean to trivialize that. That was a really genuine moment, and I have never seen her be that honest before. Thank you for sharing.
Every time I thought about dying, it was as an old person. But 2 years ago, when I started working as a lifeguard, this lady and her friend came to the pool, and I have the music going and everything. She just starts having a seizure, and luckily, I did everything right, and EMS showed up, and she was safe. But then 2 weeks later, she unfortunately had another seizure while driving, and she died. And that's when I realized life is like, it can happen to anyone at any point. And if I just die and don't do anything with my life, then that's what I'm scared.
I mean, as morbid as it sounds, death is a very, very powerful motivator. And I know that well because my brother died at such a young age that it's like from 6 years old, I knew that life wasn't certain or guaranteed. I was watching a TikTok earlier today. The guy named, is it Tim, like Chichiro, something like that? He does like the day in the life videos. He's like super inspirational. But he wakes up every day and he thinks about like what in my life is actually guaranteed today. There's barely anything that is. And if you think about that every single day and you realize you have to be, grateful for every day that you get to have those things, it totally changes your perspective about life and how much you can cram into your time here.
I said that I don't fear death because unlike you guys, I don't really have an experience, so much hands-on experience with death.
Am I afraid of the fact that I will die someday? No. But I think, obviously the fact that it might come way sooner than you expect is a scary thought.
All right, here we go.
Do you guys feel like you can actually be your genuine self when you're like talking to a girl or hanging out with a girl?
There's definitely a difference between like talking or opening up to like my friends that are girls versus like a girl that I'm interested in.
Like obviously if you're trying to impress a girl, you're gonna be dressed nicely, you're gonna wear some cologne, you're not gonna like fart around her, right? It's like there's a filter thing, but like when it comes to your mom, like your mom's a girl, and I wholeheartedly trust my mom.
That's sweet. That's good.
I guess that's what it is. There's a lot of times I walk away with talking to someone.
Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
He used to be my best friend. He's kind of a womanizer, but I see him get so much success. And every time I've done success, he's doing things that he's done, which is just putting on a facade, telling them what they want to hear.
And in the short term, that might work out for you. And if that's what you're wanting and that's what your goal is, then, whatever. But I'm somebody that believes that I just don't think you need to waste time on people. And it's a harsh thing to say because, you learn something from every person that you interact with and you bring into your life. But your time and your energy is priceless. You literally cannot get that back. It is like the most valuable currency. And I don't see the benefit in bringing somebody seriously into my life that I cannot be holding myself with, that does not actually like me for me. Like, you can go around and you can, you know, say things to woo one person and be like, oh, I need to fit this mold. I need to be more like this for her and whatever. But, you know, a few months in, whenever, you know, when, you know, shit hits the fan and those walls come down and your true selves are exposed, it's like, hey, it might work. It might be great. You guys might realize you're perfect for each other. But sometimes it's like, oh my God, why have I spent 3 months with this person that, like, now that I'm being real, we're either not compatible. She doesn't like it. He doesn't like it. And if you're going in, I'm not saying it's deceptive, but if you're like putting on a show in a way, you're kind of setting yourself up for somebody, you know, not being there for the right reason.
Chad, do you think, type of one, if you think it's going to be difficult for Brett to submit to a man? This video has really made me realize, like, she has a lot of masculine tendencies. And I don't know if it's true, but that's what happens when girls go through traumatic experiences. When men go through traumatic experiences, you become ice cold. You become harder. You become stronger. You become emotionless, which can be one of the best tools you have when it goes to operating in the business world. But you see, there's a lot of ones. When Brett has gone through traumatic experiences, it's hardened her shell. And when you become harder as a girl, you just become more masculine. This girl's, I want to take risks. I want to, you know, she's dressing like a lesbo. Her mom thinks so. She grew the Ben Shapiro eyebrows. You see what happens? It's going to be difficult. She's going to need an ultra masculine. She's going to need, and he's also going to be, she needs a really smart caveman dude in order to tame her. Or else she's just going to be, she's going to become fed up and she's going to resent. If there's any ounce of soy, any ounce of simp, she will chew and spit him out like gum.
And they're not trying to be malicious at all, because they don't know any better. They don't know you. And that's something that I always keep in my mind. It always goes back to that, like, my time and my energy, like, if we're thinking about, like, death and that sort of thing, that's something I can't get back at all. If I'm choosing to spend time with you, that means I really value you. And I hope that you value me too, because we're both spending time together. So I'm going to be as authentically myself as possible. It's why I think it's really important that I'm transparent on the show, because if you're taking time out of your day, hours out of your week, if you watch all these videos, if you watch all of them, I'm impressed. Why, like, I don't want to be a fake person on here and be duping people into, you know, watching some character.
Duping?
So I think it's so important. So I take that, you know, with work and with, you know, personal relationships. But I understand the pressure of, like, wanting to fit yourself into a mold.
It's refreshing to talk to people in real.
She's empathizing a lot with these boys, bro. I've seen her relate more to this conversation than I've seen her relate to any of the women that she puts on the screen.
Realize that I'm not the only one who feels a certain way about things. It's nice, and it's a step in the right direction for me in becoming more comfortable with being open and honest with everybody.
I love that.
I think just the whole open conversation, like, this won't bite me in the end later. Or,
10
like,
more chat.
not gonna listen to this and think, oh, that guy's bad. I have more safety of expressing my honest opinions. And whether those be good opinions or bad opinions, it's like, it's a better way to express one's true self without trying to be influenced by what high school is and all the people influencing you in high school, because frankly, high school is just popular culture, what people think is popular.
And society in general. And I mean, I hate to say it, but you get out of high school and it's the same damn thing. Like, the peer pressure is even more intense afterwards, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if I'd say more intense.
It is if you're trying to compete with others, which is a masculine trait. If you want to submit to a man, you want to cook and clean and raise kids, you don't care about that peer pressure. The people that you're competing with, if you're a housewife, other moms on the block, and who has the better stroller? Who's got the better fucking, what's that boxcar, better Range Rover? Who has the better G-Wagon with the pink little steering wheel? It's just simple shit. Materialistic stuff. That's who you're competing against. Brett has a male mindset. She's competing against other YouTube, other podcasters, other people on Daily Wire.
Like, you have more money. Other people have more
money. Bro, that's what. How many women are really competing about, like, what woman? Yeah, you broke though. No, girls compete over, like, how pretty they are. Not how much you got in your bank account.
Money. You're outside of these, you know, four walls. You're in this world with even more influences. That was, like, fantastic. I love that. And I love the fact that obviously we can talk about like broader cultural issues that might relate to political things or, you know, whatever. And the feminism question was really the only one that leaned more that way. But what I loved is that they weren't getting into identity politics. They literally couldn't see each other. This was truly men, young.
I don't have a crush on Brett anymore. Chat, that's all you, man. Why did it take me this long to realize that? I've been watching Brett videos since last summer. Since BotTube, I've been watching this, and I just realized that she kind of, and you know, I don't think that she has a boyfriend. I don't think that she's even like been with a guy in a long time. I think she's so career oriented, competition mode. That's crazy. It just all died, bro. All died. In one video, I started up the stream barking at her. It's gone. Chat, go ahead. I relinquish her. I had notifications on for Instagram so I could comment first on her photos. I'm turning noties off. I'm divorced. Go ahead, chat. It was nice.
Men being honest about their struggles, about the things that they face on a daily basis, exposing the fact that they feel like they cannot be their authentic selves and be this honest in their real life when they are, you know, when the mask is off, basically because of, you know, the fear of cancel culture, the fear of peer pressure, not being cool enough, not pleasing women. It's really, really hard. And I know that, you know, this video is about men, but for girls as well, especially, you know, middle school, high school, it's a really, really hard time. But I do want to put special emphasis on guys, because even though everybody else says that they're oppressed, at this point in time, like, I know you guys know it, but all of those people, they attack you constantly and tear you down, like they say in that video. And so obviously it makes sense why so many men struggle and feel like their concerns are not valid and they cannot express that. So I think this is very cool. I hope that you...
All right, you chatted. Cool. Good reaction, man. Good reaction. I was afraid you guys would be boring skip. Boring skip.
That's it. Your job?